It's highly on video time, and this is the fourth and final part of me making commentary over Strongman Personal Finance's videos. And this video in particular is with Nikola Motors, and Nikola had a similar path as HYLN did. Is just that HYLN decided to make a sudden strategic move, and Strongman kind of notices that Nikola and HYLN were doing something similar at one point in time.
Our future success is dependent upon the trucking market's willingness to adopt hydrogen electric trucks and battery electric. What happened to Fart Huffer HYLN? Okay. I don't know what their breakout is between hydrogen and battery electric, but HYLN was a total disaster. They basically dumped their truck and they went all in on this stupid freaking soggy bird turd generator.
Usually when a technology company creates a product, it will make money with it and not just throw it out the window. To me, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's what Thomas did. So let's hear his take on this strategic move.
One of my philosophies is I will always make what I believe is the best decision for the company, no matter how hard of a decision that is. And this is one of the things that I saw, our team saw, our board saw, was like, if we were running towards a cliff with electrification, where we were kind of betting on the public markets would turn around in order to continue to fund these early stage electric companies.
And that's my guess as to why they're so focused on staying listed on the New York Stock Exchange, is to allow the public to continue to fund them as they make this strategic move into the generator space.
And we weren't seeing that support out of the public market. It was in 2020, right? That's why there were these billion-dollar valuations getting put on companies, but that hasn't been happening recently.
What happens if HYLN chose to continue to pursue the Hypertruck ERX and commercializing it, and at the same time continued research and development with the Carnot generator? And one way to see what would have happened is to shine the CPA spotlight or proverbial magic wand at Nikola Motors and have him take a look at their 10Q.
A company that isn't making money. Imagine if you weren't making money. If you made $2,000 a month and you spent $3,000 a month and you had a couple thousand in savings, you're going to blow through that in a couple months. Well, how would you get money? Well, you would borrow it, right? Or try to make more money. But you probably, if you're a corporate like this thing, they'd borrow money or they'd issue shares.
The similarity with HYLN is that neither company makes money. However, Nikola Motors is just choosing to hand out more shares, whereas HYLN is doing the opposite. It bought them back.
They're surviving off of issuing debt, which increases future interest expense, which decreases future profits. It could bankrupt the company if they can't pay it. And they're issuing shares, which reduces your future percentage of all the company's future cash flows, which in any case are negative. Okay. That's dilution, and it's basically a reduction of your future profits because of interest expense.
Here is the proverbial cliff.
And there is substantial doubt that we will have sufficient funds to satisfy our obligations through the next 12 months from the date of this report. What do you think that means, ladies and gentlemen? That means they're saying they don't think they have enough money to pay their freaking bills. What does that mean? Bankrupt.
So the proverbial cliff that Thomas avoided with the strategic pivot is running out of money and going bankrupt. But if you continue to listen to Strongman Personal Finance talk about Nikola, things get worse with Nikola.
Oh God, it gets even worse. We identified a material weakness in our internal control over financial reporting. That's bad. So they're finally generating sales. They're increasing their sales. Good for them.
That's something that Nikola does. It sells product. It actually sells something. However, with Hyliion, they're looking at, okay, well, we're going to sell the ERX truck, but it's going to cost way more money. So every time we sell it, it's going to be at a loss. We're not gonna do that.
And they got inventory basically flat at 62 million. So their total like liquid capital is roughly, this is money that they're either have on hand or will get pretty soon to pay their debts, is roughly $300 million. Okay. What do they owe in the next 12 months? 281 million. So they're right on the cusp. Okay. They're right on the cusp. But I suspect that this cash is burning faster than they say. Okay. And when you look at this inventory here, right, you're like, oh, it's a current asset. You know, it's gonna generate a bunch of cash when they sell their products. No, because they sell their products at a massive loss.
I know part of the loss is attributed to a battery recall that they did with batteries catching on fire, and production incidents are costly.
All right, let's look at their assets, long-term assets. So they have $500 million of property, plant. They are a very asset-heavy business.
Nikola is asset-heavy. What is Hyliion?
But as we move to higher volume production, we're very much planning to take an asset-light approach.
Hyliion is planning, which is a forward-looking statement, to take an asset-light approach, which is another difference between those two companies.
They're actually not that bad relative to long-term assets. Okay, but the problem with this company isn't like they're not massively underwater with long-term debts. What they are is they have a liquidity problem. They're going to have one very, very soon because they're burning cash hand over fist.
In part one, when he took a look at Hyliion, he mentioned that Hyliion is sitting on a ton of cash. They've reduced their cash burn so they can last for years. But his main focus or concern with Hyliion is their cash burn rate, and they would have to keep an eye on it.
All right, let's look at revenues. So revenues are up. Okay, they're selling trucks, basically. They more than doubled their truck sales, but their services declined. But the trucks made up for it. So their truck sales have more than doubled. That's good. Look at the cost of their truck sales. So they sold the trucks for a cumulative $28 million. But the cost of the trucks, this is the labor, materials, and allocated overhead, is $78 million. Now, like I said, the reason these gross losses are so bad is because a new company that isn't using most of their capacity, the costs of the factory are spread out amongst fewer cars. So what you get is you get the cost of each truck. The cost of each truck is higher because they're not at full capacity.
This is good information to know when Hyliion starts producing generators at scale, is that Healy already mentioned that he's going to be selling them at a loss, and perhaps the reason is because the facility that assembles these generators is not at full capacity yet.
So you'll see these new companies with massive gross losses. It's because of that. In accounting, the cost of the factory is allocated to the inventory, and then that expense is recognized when the truck is sold. So that's why you see these huge losses. These are like the built-up costs of the factory. Depreciation, this, that, whatever. Okay, managers, whatever. All the freaking overhead. This thing is finished. Okay, I'm gonna call it. This thing's going bust.
No, he doesn't say that with Hyliion. With Hyliion, he says something to the fact of, even if the stock goes up, don't buy it. Buy VT instead, and that's his kind of investing philosophies. You just buy the whole entire haystack. But with Nikola Motors, with looking at it, he's just even more repulsed by what he sees in the 10K report.
Unless Saudi Arabia comes in and gives them like $100 million, and even that won't last. $1 billion. Okay, this thing's going bust. Okay, funding. Okay, whenever you see going concern, you got a problem. Going concern basically means the company's probably going to go bankrupt. Just whatever. If you pull up a clown stock, Control F, type in going concern. This right here. Type this in. Where is it at? We lost it. All right, let's test this. Going concern. Here we go. Type this in. Oh, oop, oop. Let's find it again. Type this in. And if you see this pop up, I would potentially stay away. Okay.
We'll try this now with HYLN. We're going to look for the words going concern in their 10Q report. We're going to do a search for the word going concern. Ooh, no, no, no. There's the word going concern in this HYLN report. Oh my goodness. These are condensed consolidated financial statements that have been prepared on a ongoing concern basis, which contemplates the realization of assets and settlement of liabilities in the normal course of business. The company is a early stage growth company and has generated negative cash flows from operating activities since inception. At June 30th, 2024, the company had a total equity of $267.8 million, inclusive of cash and cash equivalents. Based on this, the company has sufficient funds to continue to execute its business strategy for the next 12 months from the issuance date of the financial statements included in this quarterly report. The word going concern is in this report. That's it for this video, and of course, thanks for watching.